take it away.
All right, well, any minute now, any second now, it's going to be 4 o'clock. So I will call this meeting to order. And I welcome back Bob Palacio, and I wonder whether he would do the Pledge of Allegiance for us today.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you. Thank you, and it's good to have you back, Bob.
Thanks, Monica.
And we have next on the agenda, we have the roll call, and I believe that would be, yeah, who's doing it if Joanna is not here? Nicholas?
I can do that for you if you'd
Okay,
like.
thank you, please.
Okay. If we could please have Irene Bluth.
Here.
Ellen Wang.
Here.
Mary Webb. I don't see Mary Webb on the call. Lillian Barden.
Here.
And Monica Lee.
I'm here.
You have a quorum present.
Thank you very much. I see we have one member of the public now, so I will read the instructions for public participation. Due to the physical distancing protocols in place at this time, we continue to encourage public participation remotely. Information on how to provide public comments is explained in the top and bottom of the published agenda. There are 2 ways to participate. One is to join Zoom, as someone has done so far, by clicking on the link at the top of the agenda. Use the raise your hand button to be called on at the appropriate time. Please turn off your video and unmute yourself only when called upon. Phone participation is available. It can be done by calling 408-638-0958 with a conference number, ID, and passcode, and press *9 to raise your hand there. And to be called on, it's *6 and unmute yourself when called on. These options for public comment will remain available until I close the public comment period for that specific item. The next item on the calendar is item number 1, the approval of the minutes of the March 8, 2021 meeting. They have been published in the packet that everyone received. Is there any comment, question regarding those minutes? Any changes that need to be made? Anyone need more time to review them?
Move approval.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second, Ellen.
Thank you, Ellen. Okay. Everyone approved the minutes from the last meeting? Aye? Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We do have to do a roll call vote when we're remote.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So that's okay. I will go ahead and call roll for the vote. First is Lillian Barden.
Aye.
Irene Bluth.
Here.
Monica Lee.
Here, yes.
And Ellen Wang.
Yes.
That carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you. We then go on to public comments. I will read the instructions here. Persons wishing to comment on any item not appearing on the agenda may address the commission at this time. Now we have 2 attendees. State law prevents the commission from taking action on any matter that was not on the agenda. Your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. So this is to the public attendees. Does anyone wish to be heard at this time? Please raise your hand.
Madam Chair, I have no hands raised.
Okay. Give it another second here. But it seems like we have no public comments from the public. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business, and the first item there is an update on age-friendly cities initiatives phase 1 projects. And we have 3 speakers on that. Bob, did you have in mind an order of how you would like to do this?
Yeah, so Commissioner Lee, I'd like to have Vince start us. He would give the first phase 1 project and give an update to the commission. So Vince, if you're ready.
I'm ready. Okay. So we made good progress since our last update with the commission. At that time, I shared the properties and destinations that we had identified, the beginning of the maps, mapped walking routes between them. And my concerns at the time were the availability or lack thereof of data from an ADA study that was going on or just finishing that the city had done. And we worked around that. We found a way through that. Bob and I met with Matt Zucca of Public Works, and we charted a path forward. And I'll give you a little bit of sense of where we are, but there are no big hurdles in the way for us getting to completing this. I'll project by the end of the second quarter. That's where we're going to be. By the end of next month, we should be done. So the data collections is virtually complete, 90+%, or the data collections complete, about 90+% of the analysis is complete at this point. A little bit of verification still ongoing. I'll explain where there's a couple issues. So the response that we got from Public Works is that they have a lot of data that they feed into their prioritization process for street and sidewalk repair, but they don't currently have the kind of data that we're providing. The senior population density data was not available to them. The walking routes that would be trafficked by seniors in the city was not available. So he very much understands and supports the rationale for using this data in prioritizing, their work. So that's very positive. We thought that we were going to have to make a case to another commission, the Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission. That turned out not to be the case. That was postponed or canceled actually from a scheduled commission meeting. And Public Works has taken all of the input from us and their normal sources to do this prioritization on their own. So in terms of, we specifically asked them, after he saw all of our data, the way we organized it, what we have, whether there was anything missing that it would be helpful to him. And he said no, that we actually had exactly what they don't have now and what would be utilized by them in setting priorities. We asked about the timing and whether our projected delivery of a report with all of this data in it by the end of June worked for his needs, and he said it did. So all of that is looking really good as to how they'll take our data, integrate it into their prioritization process in a productive way so that we can get some of these things moving and tracked. So when I say that the primary data collection is complete, there were 32 properties in total that we captured. We estimated how many senior residents are in each of them. We got on average, about 8 destinations from each one of them to an average to walking routes like we talked about, places of worship, shopping districts, government offices like the post office, etc. So some of them have more than 8, some have fewer based on where they're located, but we have all of the logical ones that are within that range. We've completed the mapping. I'll show you the map just so you get an idea of how this thing came out. I'm not planning on showing you all the other reports and data since it's very much like what you saw last time and it's just been updated with the latest numbers. Once we had all that, the way I'd summarize it for you is that those 32 properties, we estimated have a total of 3,200 and change seniors, residents.
Wow.
And since that represents about 16% of all the seniors in San Mateo. So, you know, considering the area and size of San Mateo, that we got a fairly tight concentration. When we did the mapping, they actually fell into 4 distinct groups. And I just designated them, and I'll show you them on a map. But northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast, because they kind of come in 4 quadrants. Some are more intense in terms of their concentrations of seniors than others, but they all map to not only our buildings, but also to census data. So there's a good correlation. I think at the last time we talked, there was a question of, we were still wrestling with about south of Hillsdale and why we didn't have any properties in that area, but the census tract showed a lot of seniors in that area. And we found out, you know, that Laurie Meadows and there's some condos. It's a very densely populated neighborhood. And it turns out by census data, there's a lot of seniors there, even though they aren't in dedicated senior buildings. So we use that data to include it, incorporate into it and map it. So we have that. So let me screen share the map so you could see what it looks like. So here, when I say that we have 4 quadrants, can you see this? Okay, so this one here that I'm circling, we'll call the northwest, and that's the biggest one by far, you can see. It includes the downtown areas and all the high-rise condos that are senior behind the park, as well as down all the way to Peninsula Avenue. And then over here on the other side of 101, the Shoreview, we call Northeast, there's Creekside and some other properties and destinations over there. And then down, if you go down, look down around 25th, and then into this Hillsdale area, you have another concentration, the second largest grouping. And this includes destination, the Senior Center and Beresford Park Rec Center as destinations for these properties, because they fall within half a mile of most of them. And then we have on the other side, the southeast, we have over at Atria and some of the destinations around there, including to Kaiser. So what we've done is, you know, when I said we had 90% or more of the analysis done, what I'm doing now with my mapping partner is we're trying to estimate how many actual blocks and how many miles of sidewalk we have here in each of these 4 areas. We did a rough count. I did a rough count by just counting blocks. For example, if you make this map big enough, you know, for example, you can go very small or you can go very large, and you can actually get it to the point where you can count blocks. And I actually did that in this neighborhood and each of them to get a rough idea. Now, the problem that you run into, and we did talk to Public Works about this, is that you could see some blocks are very short and other ones are quite long. So the issue is there a standard, and what is that standard, so we could get some estimates of how many miles of sidewalk we're talking about. They did not have a number for how many miles of sidewalk we have, but the city does have a number of how much roadway they have. And they have about 200 miles of roadway as measured by the center line. So Matt was comfortable with us for this purpose, assuming that each road has sidewalks on both sides. And therefore, if you have 200 miles of road, you have 400 miles of sidewalk in the city. That may not be completely accurate, but it's for what given we're estimating the number of seniors in the building, and we're estimating, you know, a lot of things here. The bottom line is we're driving to what percentage of our seniors are captured with what percent of the city sidewalks. And the higher that ratio is, you know, the more leverage it is where you can repair. Right now, my count said that we have roughly 35 miles of sidewalks out of 400 total in the city, 35 miles in our routes versus 40. And that's about somewhere between 8 and 9% of the total city sidewalks. But if we would make sure those are in good condition for the seniors, there's 16% of the seniors captured on the routes. So it's more than, or it's about 2 to 1, which is favorable. And when I put the final report together, there's more than 3,500 seniors captured by these routes. That's how many are in the buildings we identified. And there are, if you go around these buildings where there are concentrations in the downtown area and between downtown and over in this area, there are a lot of smaller condo and apartment buildings that are less than 40 units. And there are seniors that are represented the population in them that would walk the same exact routes. So we may try to put some estimate together, or if not, at least acknowledge that our number is conservative rather than overstated, because we're not even trying to estimate how many exactly are in all of those other buildings in this area. So that's where we are with the data analysis. The things that are left to finish are to break down this population and mileage by the 4 groupings. We're going to present, I'd like to present this data that you saw before and now to the original task force, the age-friendly task force, and the participants in our focus groups, just so they can see what all their input has led to, and see if they have any feedback for our final report that I can incorporate and at least acknowledge that they have seen it. So we have more community participation, even though we didn't need them for the data collection or analysis. And then we'll write the final report with an executive summary with all the detail attached. And as I said, target completing it by the end of June. So that's my update. Any questions?
Is there a plan of action that's going to come out of the survey?
A plan of action out of the survey. Well, I don't know what do you mean by the survey? Is there a plan of action?
Well, based on your information, is the next step a plan of action on how to take care of all this?
Well, that's what the city is responsible for doing. Is Public Works has to prepare its response to all the ADA findings, which include the condition of sidewalks among its findings. It has to attach dates to when they're going to fix all of those. And what they will be doing is they'll be taking our data, overlaying it on them to set priorities. So the action plan will be for the city to incorporate this data as a priority in their planning and setting out contracts for repair, et cetera. That won't be something that I personally or our little team expects to be involved in once we turn it over to the city.
And
unless the commissioner
add,
feels differently.
Thank you, Vince. Before Commissioner Lee goes, we were in a meeting with AARP last week, and they sort of informed us that an action plan needs to be developed. And we San Mateo County at large picked their projects prior to creating an action plan. And I guess most other areas did not do that. They actually created an action plan and then picked their projects. And so we were a little bit different, but we will be creating an action plan. And we're very fortunate that Rachel Bell, who is with the Villages, has actually created a number of these action plans for other cities and counties. And she's been working with Commissioner Lee on our outreach and our communication. So we have a bit of a head start, and it's a really good situation because we've already done a lot of the work, and now we can kind of go in reverse and just populate the action plan. So with that, I can let Commissioner Lee kind of start on our phase one number 2 project. Oh, you're on mute.
I knew I was going to do that. I'm sorry. So thank you, Vince, for the update. That you're really making great progress on that. Let me go back just a little bit on the phase 1 project 2 that we have been working on, and just summarize briefly what that was all about. It has a very awkward title. We call it the Coordination of Communications about Local Regional Senior Services and Events. And so we're still looking for a somewhat more shorter title anyway. So the basic project in this phase of it was to assemble existing information about organizations and services that are already available to seniors in the city, but that we learned from the many focus groups we had, people don't know about. They're just not very well publicized. Information is on the web, but it seems to be not that accessible to many people. So what we did is we have organized we trying to build a database. We did build a database of organizations that publish newsletters that have distribution to seniors in the city. And then we have been writing news articles for these newsletters to be published and inserted in the newsletters. So that was the overall project, and I've kept a timeline of what we were doing. And so I just want to go briefly over the dates here. The age-friendly application was submitted to the AARP in September of last year. The first project 1 task force meeting to establish a database of these organizations that publish newsletters in the city. First meeting was at the end of December 30. And the task force that we have so far for the age-friendly project includes Vince and myself, but also Commissioner Wang. We have Joyce Burns of the Villages. We have Kay Sharma, who's been very active. Dawn Hill of the Library Board has recently joined. And then, of course, Bob already mentioned Rachel Bell, who is a very tech-savvy and experienced person. She has worked on several age-friendly action plans in the Bay Area. And we work with Bob and Parks and Recreation Department, which owns the age-friendly initiative here in the city. We've lost a couple of task force members along the way, and we hope we will gain some as we go along. The initial database was completed in March, early March, and also in March, we made a presentation on the age-friendly initiative to the library board to get the library involved in the age-friendly issues. And at the end of March, on the 31st, the first article, news number 1, age-friendly news number 1, which was dealing with the Get Around Senior Right program, was sent around to the database, and that reached over 50 organizations that publish newsletters in the city. And as far as we can tell, it was well received. At the time, we've seen it published in various places. And it may be that we will be able to get some data from the Parks and Recreation that runs the RIDE program to see whether there's been any increase in inquiries about the program or more people signing up for it. The database also has been used by the city manager's office to reach senior people that might be communicating with seniors, to alert them to the senior appreciation event that the city is putting on, because this is Senior Appreciation Month. And then at the end of April, on April 27, we published Age Friendly News number 2, which was about the library, and particularly about ebooks and audiobooks, and also about the library's delivery service. There was a meeting with Drew Corbett, the city manager, regarding the action plan that needs to be prepared. And I understand that there will be a follow-up with Sheila Kanzian to the city executives meeting about the age-friendly action plan later this month. I'd like to ask Commissioner Wang, if she is available to do this, to just talk a little bit about the work that went into creating that database of the organizations that we have identified in the city to that publish the newsletters, and where we are, sending the newsletters that we prepare.
Hi, I'm here. What I can say is we started with a list of about 160 that I believe came from the internet, maybe like GuideStar or something, a listing of churches, and we needed to find their phone numbers and call them if they weren't there because it was COVID. We either text or emailed or sent letters, getting some responses, because in the end, as Commissioner Lee said, I think we have about 70 or so churches. So about half responded through the list, because some of the list actually wasn't active congregations. They were more like foundations or whatever like that. And we needed to explain to them what we were doing. And we started back by telling them we had these focus groups, and what the focus groups turned up, that people wanted services that they weren't aware actually existed, was one of the things we said. And then a lot of people were responsive and said yes, that we asked if they had newsletters, and so we could put something in there. And they particularly wanted short articles. And so we kind of condensed what we had written, and we, in fact, both of the articles we've sent out had many edits to them. It's a definite committee of work, and very friendly, taking edits of your own work and changing it around so it sounds better and more precise and more brief to the point. And also they said, besides short, to have links in there that people, if they were interested, they could go find out more information. And one of the things I believe we're going to do maybe this coming month is we're going to circle back to some of these organizations, the churches, besides the library or the Get Around program. We'll circle back to see whether they have an uptick in participation, whether the churches have actually sent the letters out, and have they gotten any responses from their constituents. We also, the other thing that I don't think Kay mentioned was we used Vince's list of the multi-unit residences. And as a matter of fact, I only believe I have 32. Did you say 35, Vince? Wait, I can't hear you.
No, you're correct. I said 32.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah.
good, because we have 32. And as a matter of fact, we started with a list of, I think, 29. And then when you sent a new list out with this, with the meeting, there were 3 more added. So we're going to contact those people also. And this has been a challenge, because a lot of these apartments, which most of them are, or some of them are a condo, some of them rentals, the only phone number we have is a leasing agent. So, and they're not in the office. So what we keep pursuing it, and we have about half of those, I'd say. And then every month we've been adding. And I believe once we add a new organization, we are sending them the old news article. And with much discussion also, we have called the news article Age-Friendly San Mateo News. And so that And then I believe the next article that we're going to send out is regarding hip housing is what we're thinking of. So if anybody, although we do have a list, if anybody comes up with any article, any thoughts of what the seniors may be interested in, please let us know, particularly let Monica know, I believe. And then also suggestions as to where we could get more senior concentration. So if anybody has any ideas on that. So was there anything else you wanted me to say, Monica, or my?
That was great. You
Okay.
covered it all. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, Alan is correct. We used Vince's list of the complexes, yes.
One last thing I wanted to say, I wanted to note somebody who has been especially active in our committees and gaining the addresses of where to send, and that is Kay Sharma. She is one of our active seniors on our task force.
Yeah, and I believe Kay is actually listening in. So thank you very much, Kay,
I said
for
that.
all the work you've been doing. Yeah, couldn't have done it without you.
Okay.
So Lillian, did you have, Commissioner Barton, did you have a question? You raised your hand.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I was just curious, am I understanding that you're distributing this information to these senior complexes?
Well, yeah, the package that was part of today's meeting includes the 2 newsletters that we have penned so far. What we do is we send those to, including the senior complexes, if we know that they publish a newsletter. Or if they have told us that they will post it on some board or someplace in their facility. And mostly, I think we're counting on electronic newsletters or printed newsletters that are being published to contain these articles that we prepare.
I was just curious if Woodlake was on there.
Yes. Oh, Woodlake, yes. I don't know whether we sent them one yet. Woodlake.
There's
Oh,
990 units here.
yes.
Most of them are seniors.
They are on the list.
They do have a newsletter. I believe if it hasn't been published, they needed approval. There were several churches that wanted approval, and also Westlake, they needed approval. So we may not have gotten the approval back. I don't know how often the board meets. So
Yeah, so in some places, yeah, that's an issue that the person that publishes the newsletter cannot just agree to include our articles. They need to get someone else to approve that, especially with the larger congregations and the larger complexes. But the database is updated as we go and learn more, and it really has been a labor of love, but I think it's very helpful, because not just that do we have a venue for bringing out these news articles, but just talking to people and making them aware of the age-friendly project that's going on in the city. That by itself is already helpful to let people know.
I think it's impressive.
Yeah, that we're working on this. So initially we had a list of 12 topics to cover, one for each month of the year to cover the first year, and then, add something different or cycle back because there may be new developments. We do it 1 month at a time, and we try to have topics that are timely. I mean, when people started to get vaccinated and wanting to go out, we had the RIDE article, and then we've had the library article, which the library opened up and started its delivery service. Next, we'd like to talk about hip housing, because there are a lot of rent protections in place right now due to COVID, but those are expiring. This summer, I think most of the rent protections will be gone, and people will be looking for housing options. I've already heard of that happening. So we think that hip housing is a very important service that we should feature and make people aware of that might be looking for for new ways of housing. And we hope that the people that have the space will also be convinced that maybe they should be participating and sharing their homes. But anyway, so that's the plan. And at this commission meeting, we always like to hear from the commissioners of any thoughts you have of what we should be emphasizing going down the line, and what you think might be of interest to the seniors. So I think that's the update on the phase 1 project 2. Is there any other questions on that from anyone, commissioners or the public?
Madam Chair, I see no hands raised.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lee, I would like to say thank you to you and Commissioner Wang and Vince for your great work. And then also Commissioner Barden and Commissioner Webb and Commissioner Bluth, if you are interested in working with the action plan that we've just recently been kind of told by the AARP that we're going to be putting together. If you have an interest in helping with that, Commissioner Lee and myself will be working on that, and we can talk with you directly. So we'd be grateful and excited about your participation in that as well. So thank you so much again, Commissioner Lee, Wang, and Vince, for all the work that you have put into this AARP project so far. It's really terrific.
Thank you. So I have a clarification for the agenda. I wasn't sure if you also want to have a separate presentation about the action plan and the process involved there. That's what I understood from the agenda, but I'm not sure. We do have time for it, I think. So I don't know what you had envisioned with that agenda item.
Yeah, Commissioner Lee, I did speak with Rachel Bell,
Yeah.
who, for the commissioner, she is the person who has put together a number of action plans for other cities and counties. I think it'd probably be more appropriate to have a full presentation at our next meeting, but we can do some significant work prior to that. So just know that the way forward is for us to start on the action plan here in the next upcoming week. So, but I do think that maybe in 2 months we can look at where we're at, and as opposed to talking about it today.
Well, let me just give a very brief, so everyone knows what we're talking about when we say
Yep.
action plan. The AARP process is basically a 5-year process. You apply to become a member of the age-friendly cities or communities, they call it, project of the AARP. After you apply, you have 2 years to prepare an action plan. And the action plan, we attached to the packet today one of the pages from the AARP website that basically shows what needs to go into an action plan. And the action plan basically is the document where the city says, here is what we're already doing in the terms of age-friendly projects in our city, how we are already age-friendly, and here is what we're planning to do over the next 3 years after the action plan is completed to become more age-friendly. And they have 8 domains of the community that are addressed usually in these action plans. So after 2 years, and in our case, it would be October 2022, the city of San Mateo is required to present this action plan. And as Bob said, we are very lucky to have a person now with Rachel Bell who has done this before, and in terms of putting information in a good format and presenting it, she's the one. She will not be the one, I don't think, to actually says what goes into it. What will the city be able to do, and what's the city committing to do in terms of age-friendly projects. But that's the step. And then after you've submitted the action plan, you have 3 years to implement what you've said you would do as a city, and then the cycle starts again. And as Bob pointed out, the way it was done here in San Mateo County, we have we worked with an outfit called Cafe, Center for Age-Friendly something, I forget. Anyway, they made all the cities that are now part of the age-friendly network here in the county come up with specific projects like the one that Bob and I, that Vince and I talked about, and we have 2 more projects, longer range ones that we've also identified. That will be part of the action plan, but it's not going to be everything. There will be many other elements to the action plan, and that's what we're going to work on over the next year and a half with Bob and everyone else, and the city input as well. So yeah, that's where we stand on that. And as Bob said, I think it makes sense to come back in 2 months and have a much more detailed outline of what we think the action plan will look like. And anyone who's interested in action plans, you go on the internet, and many cities in the area have already prepared and submitted them. So like Berkeley has a wonderful one, Sunnyvale. I mean, there are a lot of cities you can find and see on the internet what the action plans look like to get a picture of what we are going to be working on. Okay, any more questions on this item on the agenda? No. Okay, are we ready then to go to the next one, which is update on senior center soft reopening?
Oh, is it the next?
Yeah, and I will, I'll start and then kick it to Carolyn and Amber. You know, as we know, the pandemic has, you know, really stunted our ability to offer program at the senior center itself and throughout the city. But that being said, a lot of our seniors have gotten their second dose of vaccine, and we've been getting pinged a lot about reopening or what we can do in person. And so we've accelerated sort of what, you know, our thoughts were originally on how we would get the senior center open. And we were really looking at like a fall opening. That being said, I think we can get something going in the summer. So I just want to kick it over to Carolyn and to Amber as far as what sort of their thoughts are and some of the feedback they've received from seniors for this summer. Carolyn.
Thank you, Bob. We are still just considering opening up. We've been, lots of seniors do come in and say, hey, I've got my 2 vaccinations. When can I walk through the doors? They even come try. And so, but we're still looking to see when we can open up safely. We're tentatively looking up at July 6th to open it for a few select programs, classes. We're still working with the teachers who might be comfortable in coming in, different programs, but it'll just be for classes. There will be no sitting or hanging out in the lobby, and individuals will be allowed in for the classes only and then be asked to leave at the end. We'll still have children's camps in one section of our facility and then the senior programs in the other one. And so we're not sure yet what we can do in person, but we're still working with teachers. But Amber has what we're doing online for the summertime.
So thanks for allowing me to speak and give you guys a quick update on some programs. So yeah, we definitely still offer quite a bit of different programs, whether it be just for whether it be for technology, for fun and games, for just to be able to socialize, educational health awareness, and things like that. We're still offering all of those. And our registration numbers are good, which I'm really happy about. We have a monthly Cinemates discussion where we basically select, I partnered up with the library and we use the Canopy. And we select 2 movies a month. One is a newer movie, one is a classic. They watch it and then we have a discussion on it. And the discussion usually lasts about an hour to an hour and a half. And right now we have 8 people registered for that program. And it's really great because it's a wide variety of different patrons in the community. So it's pretty cool. Our Tech Talk continues to be extremely popular, which is the first Monday. We target like common tech problems, trends, concerns, security, and things like that. And then the third Monday is where myself and sometimes my awesome partner, Liliana, will help we'll do social media outlets. So we're teaching them about Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook and things like that, to try, again, just to keep them connected in different ways.
Good.
We do have a few new programs. We have a new program called Tech Tips, which basically is just a little bit more, it's presented as a brain-friendly lesson on a very specific topic that is broken down into a bite-sized piece, is the way that I can explain it. So it's very specific, and we have 17 people registered for that, which is great for a new program. And we continue just to try to work with other organizations to bring in new programs. We're currently working with another area of Kaiser Permanente. Right now we have the Doctor Talks, which we've had for several years. And now we're kind of moving towards the stress management and self-care area of Kaiser. So we've had several new classes there, and we have new offerings as well this summer. Leah's Pantry, which is a teaching healthy habits and nutrition wellness for adults. And so we're offering those, which have been really interesting. And then super excited, we have our first real event with CSM. We're working with them to partner up with their music club, and we're going to be having our first virtual musical concert that they're going to be putting on this. I think it happens in June. And then, as Carolyn mentioned, we're currently handpicking and looking at what programs we could offer that would be in person. And then lastly, of course, we always have to mention the Get Around program. So we currently have 782 members. And as everybody was talking just a little while ago about, I guess, advertising of it, last month we did have 15 new members. So I'm not sure where that's coming from. We didn't ask, obviously. But we do have 15 new members, just that it came on last month. So we're busy over here still. Back to you.
Thanks, Amber. And I would think that Commissioner Lee, the outreach that you did with, with Rachel and how you shouted that program out probably resulted in those 15 folks that did sign up for the Get Around program. So I think there are, some outcomes that we can point to. So that was really great.
Well, it would be great. I mean, one of the features of the age-friendly project and the action plan is we are supposed to document numerically some of the outcomes of the efforts of the city. So if there's a way to perhaps capture that, at least we should make a note of it, that there has been this increase following the publication, and maybe we can find out from the library if they've had an increased demand in ebooks and that type of thing. I don't know how easy it is to measure this, but it would be nice to have a few of those data points as part of the report that we have to eventually prepare. Are there any questions to Carolyn or Amber from the commissioners or from the public?
Madam Chair, I have no hands raised from members of the public.
Wait,
Ellen has a question.
are you going to be talking about the celebration of the senior center, the anniversary? Is that going to be coming up? Or is it a different topic?
That we're still working on to see when we can do it. We're on the 31st already. We may be on the 32nd anniversary.
Okay.
But we're still trying to figure out the optimum when everyone can join and when we can have a large group. Right now, we would want to
Okay.
have a whole big, huge group to come for the seniors, and I don't think that we're ready for that yet. So,
Right, okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question also. In terms of the meal programs, is there any timeline in place for changing anything there, or is that going to go as is for the foreseeable future?
We don't see that one as one of the ones coming in for the summertime. We see that one continuing on through the summer. It's still nice to go out, be outside to eat your meals if you're taking it out or taking it to go. But we would hope to maybe start that in the fall to come back inside. But we're still not sure about large group settings yet.
Are people able to pick it up at the senior center and sit outside? Is that what you're saying?
People are known to, they're asking all the time where the parks are around, where picnic tables are, so they can go take the lunch and go meet with their friends, and go eat out by the ball field picnic or the Bearsford Park.
That's great. Are you sort of suggesting, I mean, that's a wonderful idea of providing also some social contact as part of the meals. Are you sort of trying to encourage that, or is there something people have come up?
We suggest it when they ask about where they can eat.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a wonderful thing. Yeah. Yeah, that was my question. If there are no further questions on the report from the senior center, we will close the comments on that. And we have new business. And this is an exciting new item coming up. A presentation about the transportation program grant that the city was able to get. Who's going to do that? Bob, are you going to do that?
Yeah, so I'll start and then I'll probably kick it to Liliana, since she was instrumental in securing the grant. So as we all know, the transportation program, the Get Around program, has been a huge success, and it continues to grow. Originally, when the program kind of kicked off, the city didn't know how many people would be interested in participating. And what happened was we went at a trajectory that was at a level that we couldn't fund. And so the city was gracious enough to actually add additional funding to it. Public Works approached us maybe 6 months ago about the potential for finding some additional funding. And so Carolyn and Amber and Lily worked really hard with Public Works to populate the information that was needed for the grant application. And we applied for a grant, and we received $320,000 over a 2-year period for that program. And so, it's not on top. The city will have to decide. I guess the CFO will figure out how many dollars actually are used for each year, and how much will go into 21, 22, and 22, 23, and how that works. But it is a really good thing that that we were able to actually secure that grant. And I think it speaks to how well the program has been run. And I know, Lily, you have put a lot of work, you and Amber, into making that program successful. And your ability to convey that to the grantees was incredible. So I just kind of wanted to kick it over to you, and if you can give us any sort of background on how that whole thing went, it would be terrific.
Thanks, Bob. So we're just talking about the process for the application, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so we worked with, like you said, with Public Works, with Sue Ellen, I believe, and I forget the other person's name, but yes, with Sue Ellen. So basically what we did is compiled data for them about what areas in San Mateo used the program the most, and how many participants we've had over the last year, and also how much the program has grown since its initiation back in 2018, Amber, if I'm not mistaken, right? And what we saw was that actually one of the target zip codes, or one of the target areas that they were looking into, was actually one of the areas that the participants came from the most, which was, I think, was the north, what was it?
North Central.
North
Yeah.
Central, thank you. The North Central area.
94401.
Yeah, North Central area, which is, an area that where the community is in need of transportation the most. And actually a lot of our members do hail from that area. And also we had a great number of them that also applied and qualified for the $2 card, which was really great. And we were able to find all this information based on the reports and list that we keep. And so it was really, really great to be able to provide this information for Sue Ellen, and then, for the application, and to actually have been able to get approved for it, which is really, really great. Because it's like Amber mentioned before, just last month, we had 15 new participants, and we get calls all the time, people asking if it's still working during the pandemic. We had a bit of a lull at the beginning of last year, but once people knew that it was still running, it really picked up again. So really great program, and we're really excited that this came through, and that we're going to be able to continue providing this great service for the community.
Yeah, Lily, Amber, Carolyn, thank you so much for your work on that. And I think, to be able to access that much funding was an incredible feat. And they won't give funding unless you're able to execute the things that you're putting together. And you guys have done a terrific job at that. So thank you so much.
Are there any questions for Lillian or Bob or Amber on the transportation, the new grant? I mean, this is really a very exciting development because, San Mateo, the city of San Mateo was path-breaking with this particular kind of program using the Sarah yellow cabs. And it's now being copied all throughout the peninsula by other cities. And, Samtrans was running a pilot program. And it's just a wonderful thing that the city came up with. And I'm so happy to see that you can continue it. And congratulations on having the data to support that grant application, because it's so easy to lose that information. So yes, that's a wonderful way you've done that. It's great. Is it possible to get the application data to see that if the commissioners wanted to see it? Just, who is using the program? I mean, I don't need the whole application, but it'd be really nice to see who is using.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we still have that information, and we could absolutely compile that for you guys.
That would
And
be great.
we can break it down depending on exactly, what it is you're looking for. I mean, we've kept really great reports and have kept everything really up to date. And between the three of us, we've done pretty good.
Sounds like it. So that would be great if you had a short report, just, which zip codes, like you were talking about, which zip codes are the most, what percentage has qualified for the $2 card, that kind of information, I think would be really of interest to the commission. Yeah, Vince, you had your hand up first, I think.
I just had a question. Who approved the grant or provided the grant? What agency? I didn't hear that mentioned. Did you hear?
Hi, Vince. So it was the County of Governments board. So they basically the board of San Mateo. So it's called the County of Governments, and they were able to give us a grant through Caltrans or through Samtrans, sorry. And so we're really fortunate. I mean, it's a significant grant. I mean, sometimes you apply for grants and they're in the $2,500 to $5,000 range, and this was $320,000, which is significant. So, we're really fortunate.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
you can see in the attachments, we did include the agenda for their meeting, so you can look at more detail in there if you'd like.
Yeah, I was going to say that the whole package, the package has all the information about that grant. Yeah, great. Lillian, you had a question?
I was just thinking that, I'm about this action plan we're putting together, and this is the kind of information. Does the action plan have to include only things we're going to do in the future? Or can it document some of this stuff that we're already doing?
I'm glad you asked. The first step in preparing the action plan is to collect information of what we're already doing.
Okay.
So Bob and I met with the city manager a couple of weeks ago to start that process so we can talk to the various departments in the city to find out what the city is already doing that's age friendly. And our little task force, with our articles, we are out there finding out what other community organizations and nonprofits are providing services to the citizens of the city that are age friendly. So that information is going to be collected, and then you use that as a baseline, basically saying here is where we want to build on what's already being done, or there's an area that has been left out completely. We really should focus on that. But that's the first.
I think if we have verification in there that our model has been imitated by many other cities in the county, that's also a plus in the action plan,
It's very impressive. It's very impressive. That's, and Lillian, if you would like to be part of that process of collecting the information and working on the action plan, it'd be great. There's a lot to do.
No problem with that. I just didn't know about it.
Yeah, no, I know. And that's why, we should, there's a lot of work to be done. And if we can get the commission to participate actively in this, I think that would be great.
Works for me.
Great. So any other questions about that transportation grant, which is a major achievement? Thank you. Then we have item 5 is summer programs for seniors. Is that
Monica, excuse me. Irene had something to say, but she's on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Irene, you're on mute.
Now, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I got it unmuted, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I just wanted to comment that transportation program is probably the most positive thing that the senior center could ever have done for the seniors in San Mateo. And I think that it's the 320,000, I don't know if it's county money, but is the program ever going to be expanded beyond the city of San Mateo? Or is that just growing on its own?
Well, actually, I mean, there are copycat programs all around the peninsula.
Yeah, I know about the copycat programs in other cities. But I also know that there's some, like San Bruno, I don't, they have some kind of a transportation thing. But if you have to go to San Bruno, you can't do it with this program. So I'm just interested in knowing if the 320,000 would help expand that program to maybe include something besides, just what's currently offered within the program.
So Commissioner Bluth, the current program that we have is how we, kind of created the parameters around what we would ask for the money. I would tell you that because so many of the other cities within the county have, copycatted, for lack of a better word, our program, that I would think at some point the county is going to look at how this program has sort of grown and what it really means to seniors, not only to be able to get to wherever they want to get to, but also, how it's succeeded in creating, an outlet to isolation and just all of the things that that the program means to the senior population. That down the road, I would see it being something that was a larger program, that was a county type program. San Mateo was, when I arrived here 2.5 years ago, I was really thrilled with the program that they had put forward, in the get around and what it was doing for seniors. And I think that, for us to be at the, at the front of the line as far as, what that program would look like. For many of the cities, they copycatted us for their projects, for the age friendly, for the AARP and what they had done for their projects. They really looked at what we had done, and I mean, to the extent that they had even used our logo, and and sort of just really copycatted exactly what we were doing. So I think that the county will obviously take a look at that. I think it's one of the one of the best things that that the county has actually done and been sort of forward thinking. There are other programs that are out there that kind of move seniors around, but for a senior to be able to make a phone call and get a hold of a cab, not not Uber or Lyft or any of the other people where they're picking you up in some private vehicle, but to be able to pick you up in a cab and take you to wherever you're going to go and do it at a really affordable price, I think is really incredible. So, to answer the question, yes, I think that the county will expand the program moving forward. I mean, I can't speak for the county, but I think that they can kind of see that each city is doing it individually, and that we would be able to expand our program moving forward.
And
Well, I really appreciate that thought, but I would hope that there would be at some point a coordination between all the cities in this county.
Yeah.
So that people could go from San Mateo to Redwood City if that's where they have to go, because seniors are really impacted very, very severely by transportation. And Ready Wheels is there, but it's a whole different story. And frankly, most seniors, and being one of them, I can now appreciate this a lot more, that you can't walk to a bus stop, and
Right.
you can't. You need to have door-to-door service. Fortunately, I can still drive, but most seniors can't. And so I would hope that there would be some effort to coordinate this between all of the cities in the county of San Mateo.
so I can speak to that a little bit. The Commission on Aging for the county is looking at these very issues and how, to help the cities that are in the age-friendly programs to coordinate and comply with, their forward-going programs. But also, I understand that Samtrans is in the middle of getting public, input into their programming. And I think there's actually a senior-focused session coming up on this month. I can look that up and maybe get the information out. But we do have to, I think, look at Samtrans as one of the ways to get coordination countywide for these types of programs. They ran a pilot program last year down in Redwood City. I'm not sure what happened to that with the Sarah Cab model, but they would be the natural for providing this service to the county as a whole, and coordinating all the various city programs.
Only if they could do it door to door.
Yeah, I mean, they would run the same. They would run the same kind of program.
Right, because the current system just doesn't work for seniors.
I agree.
So I think that they may well be the agency who could do it, but they have to coordinate it so that people are picked up at home and don't have to walk, 3 blocks to a bus stop. So I would hope that we would encourage that.
Lillian, you have a comment?
Well, there are other ways of accomplishing the same thing, and I think we need to look at different models. I mean, we might be able to connect with Samtrans, and Samtrans would be, some sort of wheel and spoke kind of thing. So for instance, if I wanted to go down to Half Moon Bay, I would take the get around to the bus station, and then the bus would take me down to Half Moon Bay. So some coordination with the two programs. I think the essence of the Get Around program is that it is very local. And I think that they would resist changing that.
Well, maybe as commissioners, we should think about whether we want to make some kind of recommendation to the city to look into this and try to work something out. The commission, I understand, and it was before my time, was actually instrumental in moving forward with the program of transportation for seniors in the first place. And again, I don't have personal knowledge of that because that was a long time ago. But the commission can provide advice to the city on these types of issues, and we should perhaps think about some kind of a resolution or recommendation that the commission would want to make on that, because I think you're right. I mean, it's a very, very important issue, and we know how to solve it. It's just a question of getting it done.
Well, it's the one issue I think that the senior center is really noted for. I mean, it has been innovative and it has been very successful, and it really indicates to the seniors in San Mateo that the commission is concerned about their ability to get around, and I think that's important. And we should certainly continue to develop that.
Yeah, and I think, as far as the expansion of the program, the city is dedicated to making sure that we serve the residents and the seniors of San Mateo, and as far as we can get them to where they want to go, that's a priority. I think we're probably less about serving people outside of San Mateo, but if you live in the in the borders of San Mateo, the city proper, that we want to try to get you to where you need to go. And Lily and Amber, Carolyn, there are instances currently where we take people outside of the city of San Mateo. Can you tell the commissioners where those areas usually are?
Yes, so as of now, as it stands, the limits of the program are San Mateo, Belmont, Burlingame, Foster City, Hillsborough, Redwood City, San Carlos, and the Veterans Hospitals in Menlo Park and Palo Alto, as well as Stanford affiliated clinics. And the way it works essentially is once you've reached that limit, you owe $5 up to that limit, and then the patron would pay basically the taxi meter would restart, and they would owe whatever it is from that point to their destination. They would owe the dollar amount then, but they would still only pay the $5 up to that limit.
And that's not really publicized. I understood that was the case, but I don't think people are informed. So maybe that would be helpful if that were publicized as part of the description of the program, that it can be used to go, for instance, to the airport. You just have to pay extra, right?
Yeah,
And it is when they receive their card, they get a Q&A, a very long one that provides that sort of information. There's certain stuff that we do advertise, and then I think there's other stuff that, just like the phone number, for instance, we'll have patrons actually call Get Around thinking they're a Get Around member because they've called us and because they're a senior center member. And so there's some information that we do have to kind of keep. I don't want to say quiet, but we keep it a little bit more sensitive until you are a part of the actual program, until you receive the actual get around card.
Okay.
But when they ask and when people ask, this is the information we're sharing with them, that the minute they leave the limitations, that that's when the fees will change. They pay the difference.
And we wanted to make sure that the program went for seniors who needed to go to doctors, friends, and we really didn't want it to be someone to pay $5 to Millbrae and then maybe a couple dollars to go to the airport. We wanted to make sure that it was more seniors with their friends and things like that, instead of going to other people accommodating that way.
Right. I mean, I understand the sensitivity of that. Yes, thank you. But Irene, I mean, it does address your concern a little bit. You can use the program.
Oh, I know that. I mean, I know how the program can be used.
Yeah.
And that I know that wasn't the purpose of it. It wasn't to get people to the airport so they could go on a vacation. I mean, the whole thing was for necessity, getting to doctors or getting to friends or, socializing. So I do understand the limitations of the program. I just think that as long as other cities now are developing the same thing, that maybe there could be some kind of reciprocal kind of exchange. So people could go to see a friend who might be living in San Carlos or Belmont. So, I know that it's not easy to do that when you cross city lines, because everybody's got their own little city thing going. But I think it's worth at least trying to make it a little broader.
Great discussion. Any other comments on the program, on the transportation program?
Oh.
Great. Okay. So then we get to the next item on the agenda, which is the summer programs for seniors. We have an update on that from staff.
So Commissioner Lee, I know, Amber, you hit on a number of the things that are sort of happening. We do have, I wanted to make sure that we put at the forefront the things that were happening for seniors. Remember that the programs that are, senior focused are not the only programs that are happening. We do have a lot of dance and fitness and other programs that, maybe not entirely labeled like just for seniors that are actually happening. So, we're excited about the summer that we have. Obviously, the country seems to have opened up a lot faster than maybe all of us thought that we would. And so, I had asked staff to kind of put together, some of the menu of things that that would be happening for this summer so that you could hear, what we were doing. Obviously, we're looking at like an early July, mid-July sort of in-person reopening, soft reopening. Not, as staff mentioned earlier, that we wouldn't just be opening the doors and everyone would be coming back, but that we would have some classes that that people could participate in, especially for those that are vaccinated. We know that the majority of seniors now in the city of San Mateo have been vaccinated, both with 1 and 2 doses. So we wanted to make sure that we were responsive to that. So I just kind of want to kick it over to staff to kind of let you guys know, hey, here's what we're doing for seniors this summer.
And included in your packet is a part of the guide that has all the senior programs that we are going to be doing for the summer. And if you wanted the whole brochure, that's also online, and that has the dance and fitness and the crafts and all sorts of things going on as well.
Great, thank you. So we will, no questions on that. We will continue on the agenda, and that's next item is reports and announcements from commissioners and staff. Do we have any reports from commissioners on any developments? No. Do we have any reports and announcements from staff other than what we've already heard?
There is the
Yeah,
event. Oh, sorry, Bob.
No, I want to turn it over to you, Carolyn, just regarding the event for recognition of senior volunteers. So
Today?
yeah, you can go ahead and kind of talk about the drive-through, which would be great.
Yeah, there's an event coming up on Saturday, and I don't have any of the papers in front of me. Sorry. I think there's one in the packet. It's a co-event sponsored by Menlo Church and the City of San Mateo City Manager's Office, and they have it's a senior appreciation. They're going to have music and kids dancing, and you're going to drive up and pick up a goodie bag, and it'll have all sorts of puzzles and snacks and all sorts of things that they've collected, and it'll be, but it is reservations. You need to do reservations, so you just have to call the city manager's office and they will make a reservation. They are doing times as well, so we don't have all 150 people show up at the front at once, and so they'll be doing a drive-through just like we do lunch at the front of the recreation center. So we're very excited about being a part of this program.
Great. It sounds like the extravaganza that I took my granddaughter to.
Yeah.
Just a few weeks ago. Great. Any other announcements?
I just wanted to let everybody know too that I have included all of you, all the commissioners to our monthly newsletter that we do that advertises all of our programs. So hopefully you guys are receiving them. It is currently going to your City of San Mateo email address. But just wanted to let you guys know so you guys are aware and you guys can check out the stuff that we're doing. We get a lot of responses back from those, and that flyer and that event that Carolyn just mentioned is actually in there as well.
Any other reports? No further reports. In which case, I think we are ready to adjourn this meeting. If there's nothing further. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody, for a very interesting and educational discussion and all the great input we've been getting. Thank you.
Thank you.